Thank you, Neil, for giving me the opportunity to speak today here. As you might see, I come from Leipzig, from computer science department, and actually my way from computer science to digital classics is a pretty long one. The short answer to this is that I got a strong influence by Gregory Crane, and the other story about this is this may be something more for the coffee break or for lunch. Has to do with Indiana Jones and math geeks. Nevertheless, I do not need to introduce text truth in general. Monica has already talked about it this morning, and I want to talk about what we can do with text truth, especially with page ranking stuff. One of my very first questions, or it's not a question of myself, but from a person who's in this room now, and who asked us in 2006, what can we do now, what do we do with 1 million books, or what can we do in digital classics if we have a lot of digital data now available? The same person said as well, okay, we do not have native speaker for ancient Greek and Latin, or any kind of historical languages. And this was an interesting point. I read this first time in the proposal, and both of these statements I want to come back later. One question that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we find any relevant information in massive data? Massive data means first to have a look on what Google does. Yeah? In Google you can say, okay, you type in a word and find, for example, the results. Then you get, as in this example, 600,000 hits. I'm pretty sure nobody, not me, not you, not as a crowd, will ever be able to have a look at all the 600,000 links or pages. And the big question is now, how can we rank the documents in a way that of our interest? And one thing that Google does is to think in graphs and networks. Network is something pretty simple. We have, for example, two nodes with yellow bubbles, and we have a connection between those. We can also talk about a directed graph, so we have an arrow on that. This means one node refers to another one. It's not only a relation, but one node refers to another one. In terms of web pages, you can say, okay, we are choosing our e-traces web page, and you now can say, okay, I link to the Bible index or to the Tadera project here from Buffalo. Now we can say as well, okay, the more person in a hypertextual world link to my site, the more important I am. Yeah? And on the other hand, you can say this with a lot of bubbles, with a lot of nodes. And as you might see, for example, if you compare F and C, both have just one incoming node. However, B refers to C, and to F, F is referred by E. They have different weights, simply by the referring node or the weight of the referring node. And on the other hand, if you compare to E, you have a lot of incoming nodes on the bottom here. And the question that can come up from those kind of using hypertextual structures in order to identifying importance, reputation, yeah, and this comes from, this is what you can derive from those kind of network analysis. The easy thing is ignoring what Google does with this kind of technology that is called the PageRank technique. To understand this easily is how social networks work. Yeah, all of you are in part of a social network, and actually this is how socializing works. Yeah, you need the big players who support you. Yeah, and the more big players you support, you are supporting, the better its reputation. Yeah, this is how we can use relations, personal relations, in order to pimp our reputation. And what does it now mean on historical data? What we can do is, if we do now make text truth analysis, we have on the one hand any kind of quotations, paraphrases, allusions, and so on. But on the other hand, we have also something like a relevance. Yeah, every quotation does not happen on purpose. Yeah, every quotation happens on giving someone credit in a positive or in a negative way. Yeah, you can say, okay, what this man said is very, very brilliant. I do need to quote him. On the other hand, you can say, oh, that's so bullshit. I need to destroy what he did. And especially in philosophy, yeah, It is very, I built some search engines for philosophical text, and it is often pretty difficult since the semantic and philosophical text is not hidden in the keyword. You can't say this word is the meaning of the sentence, or this set of words gives it the semantic of the document. I have one brief example from Shakespeare, to be or not to be. Yeah? Trying to do some TF-IDF measures there gives you an empty set of words, since all have a weight of 0. And however, looking on text reviews, you say, oh, I can understand what the semantic in, but something happens here, since many guys were quoting, or at least give allusion to this kind of text chunk. The big con that we have now is that in the most humanities data, we do not have this kind of hypertextual word as Google can use in HTML files. Yeah? And exactly this is what we want to do with the text series detection. In order to satisfy all the different criterions for historical text series detection, we not have only one algorithm or a tool of 2 or 3 algorithms, but we thought in a way that we say, okay, what is a real text series detection task? You need to satisfy very short text trees like battle cries. On the other hand, you have additions, yeah, and all these kind of different kinds of reuse units or different kinds of reuse types you need to satisfy. On the other hand, you have different kinds of text trees like quotations, who are very close to the original. You have allusions, paraphrases, but even translations. Yeah. And in order to satisfy all these kind of different text reuse needs within a digital library, I came to the point after some months that these sub-levels are necessary, not more, not less. So first of all, we need a segmentation. On the results we have done on the Perseus digital library, I showed it on the slide afterwards. You have very small text reuse. So you need a small segmentation like a moving window of 5 or 6 words. If you work on the Bible, it doesn't make sense to say you think in a verse. Yeah, every verse is one reuse unit, and so on. Pre-processing should be clear, though you can think about normalization with language variants, lemmatization, capitalization and things like that, but also replacement of different kinds of synonyms, so concepts. Featuring means how do we measure now text reuse? Do we work on bigrams, on trigrams, or words as features? And feature selection is actually the most difficult level, since this always means we need to remove something. And removing something is very difficult to explain humanist, yeah. And but just if you look on if you compare with your fingerprints, your human fingerprints, yeah, it is the same, yeah. If you would now compare 2 fingerprints, maybe your left and your right hand side thumb, yeah. You need to remove unimportant points, otherwise the computational time explodes. Yeah, even just for comparing to fingerprints. On the other hand, the quality is much better. It does not make sense to say that, for example, my fingerprint is more similar to my own fingerprint than saying, or having a similarity of 99.9%, and saying on the same time that my fingerprint was correct as 60%. The objective must be that different fingerprints must be as less as possible similar. Yeah, and this you can do with the selection stuff. And this is really difficult to explain. Linking should be clear. Scoring is about how do you weight now your overlaps to common set of verbs. And trade processing is something that you do not need to do, but often makes sense in order to remove some noise. All this stuff is implemented already since 1.5 years now, and it's already well trained. How it's not available in a way that it is well documented. If you're interested in just give me an email, you can have it. But I need some time for documenting this stuff. This year we will have all those teaching courses, some practical courses where you will train, you get the tool, you bring all your data, and then you can learn how the tool works. And also you get some more experience with that. As of now, we have, having these levels, we can combine more or less more than 1 million combinations of different implementations on this level. Some brief results. Last year in September, Craig and I presented at the TBI conference some results on the Perseus Digital Library. And this is just one way to make text reviews. I made all the text reviews, for example, on the Bible or on German literature text, but also on scientific papers. And always the results do look differently. Yeah, this is pretty important. But for the text reviews of the Digital Library of Perseus, it looked like that. First of all, we tried to make fingerprint detection by byte trace. This is more or less standard for, pragmatically standard for plagiarism detection. Pragmatically for this reason, since it's extremely fast. Yeah? We need to realize that for text reviews in the digital libraries, we will be led in a wrong way. Means if you do that, we see a lot of mathematical expressions, especially in all-clicks elements, that are reused. Yeah, it's not really the text reviews we were interested in, but the formulaic behavior of mathematical texts destroyed a bit our results. On the other hand, we need to think about weighting. First of all, we had a pretty simple measure like the product resemblance. It's an overlap measure, pretty simple. And scores between 0 and 1, and we did identify that scoring by word classes gives us much better results. And the verb is the most dominant, has a very dominant role in weighting this. In more than 90% of all relevant text reviews to us, the verb was always part of the text review. If you, on modern text, if you do not have the verb in, you often identify multiple expressions. Yeah, for example, the German Ministry of Education Research. Yeah, lots of nouns in, and this, the verb is very important. And last but not least, we identified for the Perseus Digital Library. First of all, we segmentized into something like windows, like sentences, but we need to realize that a tiny window of just 5 words that runs over the text gives us much better results. This comes with the fact that the text in the Perseus Digital Library is with 80% 2, 3, or 4 word reuses. Yeah. Maybe back. What we can do now with text reviews is pretty similar to what I've shown before with the web pages. We have 2 text chunks, the yellow bubbles. It is often pretty clear who quotes whom, yeah, or who refers to whom. And we know that every quotation is something explicit. Yeah, anybody wants to explicitly refer to someone. For example, you can ask how much Homer is in Athenaeus. This was where I presented the results before. And our main question, the last slide, I'm in time. And our main question is now, what can we do now with these kind of interdependency networks? And on the right-hand side, I have all in all 12 different works, ancient Greek works. And the third from top, it's Plato, the Timaeus, and you see something like, and you should explain this first. So on the left-hand side, means here, yeah, here starts the work, and on the right-hand side of this image, the work's ends. And what we looked for is where does exactly was a strong impact for text reviews. Yeah, and the vertical dimension is just for copying the colors to not to a line but to an area, so that we can visually better understand what happened there. And the colors itself, the color scheme is down there, depends on how much text reviews were in. Black means nothing. The more we go to red or yellow, the more text reviews were on this passage. And the third line from top, there's a Timaeus from Plato, and you see something like 30 to 40% of the vertical line. You see a hotspot, a red hotspot. This is where a lot of philosophical discussions were there, and yeah, though this is one question that we had. Do we interested in hotspots, finding hotspots with a hot temperature, where a lot of quotations happen, or are we interested in something like the fifth diagram from top? I think it's something from Aristotle, where we have a broad coverage of the entire work that were reused. Yeah, so it's not a passage that was important, but a strong the work itself was very, very strongly recorded. So this is the first question that we asked us. And please mind, what Google does with PageRank technique, is something like ranking this page on the first position that gives you most trust. The more person refer a link to your web page, the more trust is given, from the network, from the community. And the first question we need to ask is, what of these both dimensions for text reuse temperature and text reuse coverage is more important to us? Secondly, we are also asked us, are we only interested in the high relevance stuff that Google does? So for a student, for sure, it is pretty fine to come to the important and hotly quoted passages, to go exactly there where the things really happen. But a professor probably will not be really interested in that. These passages will be well known. And as of now, we just assume that the high score is fine for students, and the low score will be extremely fine for the professors in order to look to these passages that were not hardly discussed. And as of now, we can say that probably in the third quarter we will come up with the system on Perseus. We have already running a system in Leipzig for that, in development environment, and something in the third quarter we will come up with the interface itself. And this means, for example, that we have 6 widgets, one with the standard information retrieval task, one with the standard Google PageRank technique, and then the text reuse temperature with high score and low score, as well as the text reuse coverage with high and low score. What we want to figure out is, what does the user prefer? We have an assumption about that. We will, Craig and I, discuss as well to collect some metadata from the authors, from the users, and we will see what will come out there. Just for some things, so if you're interested both in the tool or any other stuff about text reuse, eTraces is the website, and personally I think I do not need to mention. And if you are generally interested in any kind of text reuse, please do join our Google group that is particular or specific exactly for those kind of text reuse. Thank you.